Howdy, howdy. Welcome this morning to the sixth installment of the Clay and Woodrow Show. With me, as you can see, my good friend Sean Smoke, back with us from 912 Sports, kind of the sultan of all things high school sports. Sean's with us here today. Welcome you from the Omar Oliver Studios once again for our sixth episode. I think the Woody Cam is running strong. As you can see, Woody is behind the keyboard as well. He is our stat man. He's looking up stats for us today. Woody's doing what Woody does very well, and that is he is snoozing away. Before we get too far, last week we had the ability for those of you that shared, we had a big drawing, and that drawing was that we were going to give away a gravity feeder. And the winner this week is David Dowling of our gravity feeder. Once again, David, you have won a gravity feeder that is handmade by Riverbend Renovations that we have approximately about $11.19 invested in. So, David Dowling, I'll be sure to get you your gravity feeder. And just as far as other announcements go, our sponsor today is the Okefenokee Miracle League. And once again, people sponsor this show without knowing, because in order to get sponsors to actually sponsor your show, my understanding is you, Mr. Producer, tell me if I'm wrong about this, Don Juan, but it would have to be of good content and good quality. Is that correct? Is that how that works? So you have to have good content and quality before someone would actually want to sponsor your show. And since we don't have either, what we do is we just make up sponsors that we believe in. So the Miracle League, if you don't know what Miracle League is, it's a league. There's a misnomer that it's just baseball, but Miracle League, actually, if you get a Miracle League field, which, by the way, this community needs to have immediately, they actually do soccer as well during the off seasons and stuff like that. Sean, you've been gracious enough to even cover Miracle League in your magazine. And if you ever go to a Miracle League, so here's my deal. My wife, with being a part of special education, she has a lot of her kids participate in Miracle League, so we go and support them. And so I sit in the stands, and I always wear my sunglasses, and then I go to the end. I keep walking away. It'll get you choked up a little bit.
It will.
And so I throw on the sunglasses. I get myself collected, but not tears of joy.
Right.
But I'll have to walk away and compose myself and come back. And she keeps asking, well, why do you keep living? Why do you keep living? But Miracle League's fantastic. But the Clay and Woody Show are advocates that in the next 2 to 3 years that Ware County will have a Miracle League field designed for those kids. And Sean and I were talking before this production that those guys have to have a field that's really made of turf. The clay doesn't work. If there's a little bit of rain, a normal baseball game can take place. But them with wheelchairs,
and you've got rocks in the dirt and things like that affect it all. Camden County's got a fantastic facility, and it's almost made out of the same material that's made at the Ware County track.
That's right.
It's made out of that type of material. The whole infield is that way, and like I said, you don't have to worry about weather. You don't have to worry about rocks and that sort of thing. So it's definitely something that's needed in this community, and I think we can get behind it and get the money raised and get it built.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. But if not, because of course you know that we are on the 17th floor of this building at the Omar Oliver Studios. Woody and I, if we don't have a Miracle League field in 3 years, we're going to camp on top of this structure.
Sit-in.
Yeah, we're going to have a sit-in downtown Waycross on the 17th floor. We're on the very top floor on the 17th floor. We're sitting on top of this building. We're not coming down, not eating or drinking until we have a Miracle League field. But good people that get behind that. It's a great cause. If you haven't been out to see a game, please do so. Get behind the Miracle League. So that's our sponsor for the day. I will also say, I think next week in studio will be my daughter, Neely Thomas. So she is going to be in for a special Thanksgiving episode of the Clay and Woodrow Show. I think those are kind of all of the announcement type things that I have. I don't think I've missed anything. But Sean, just getting back to you, our guru of all things, especially local high school sports. But so what is the latest bizarre sporting event that you've been to? Bizarre not to you because you don't understand that you have a bizarre, eclectic type of love for sports. But for the rest of the world, what's the last thing that you've been to that all of us would say, well, why in the world, Sean, would you go spend 2 days doing that?
Well, I did go to Charlotte 2 weekends ago to the dirt track national championship.
You can quit right there. That's fine. So
and it was brutally cold and windy, and if you like sitting in sub-freezing weather watching cars go around a track, it's probably not for everybody, but we had a big time. So,
if I'm not mistaken, I'm new to this sport. Just left-hand turns.
That's correct. One circle, left-hand
turns.
A lot of loud pedal, a lot of right pedal down, and
then if I'm not mistaken, those cars stop, and then other cars come, and then you have a bunch of left-hand turns.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure.
Several different series, several different races, and it's a good time.
And you drove hours and hours away.
6 hours.
6 hours. Okay, all right.
6 hours.
Yeah. Okay, your answer did not disappoint, by the way. So turning to sports that I might could participate in, we'll actually turn to college football, of course. And as we normally do on the show, we have a Clay Thomas football poll. But what we're doing today is something a little bit different. Is Sean, I want to present to you. I think you and I have kind of the argument that, listen, these polls, are very irrelevant early in the season. And you'll see a lot of people that are, and I think a great example is Michigan.
Right.
Michigan's a great example that Michigan's going to be world beaters, and now Michigan's just trying to hang around to have a reasonable season. Exactly. And so those polls early in the year mean nothing, but the pollsters didn't get it, terribly wrong. They had Clemson and Alabama and those kind of things. LSU started the year at 6th. It wasn't like they were at 15th. So, but really now is kind of when the polls begin to count, and they also become more accurate because we've got resume and eye test and all those things to work off of. And so before you, and I know the audience can't see, but we're going to run through the coaches poll. Sean, I think we have the argument now that the coaches poll is getting it close to about right, with 1 being LSU, 2 being Ohio State. Now let's start there. I've got a question for you. I think Ohio State is the better football team, but I do put them at 1 because of resume that LSU has. If LSU and Ohio State play tomorrow on a neutral field, who wins that game?
I'm taking Ohio State.
Okay, and I am too, and it hurts my heart to say that, but I still put LSU at number 1 based upon resume. Are you in that camp?
I'm with you on that. They've got the better wins. Ohio State hasn't played anybody all year long. But if you go back and you look at LSU, let's face it, guys, they gave up 400 yards rushing to Ole Miss. Yeah. Okay. To Ole Miss on Saturday, they give up 400 yards of rushing. You're not going to win if you're giving up 400 yards rushing to Ole Miss. A lot of people are already talking about the Georgia LSU game in Atlanta. Looks, by all accounts, looks like that's the game that's going to be. LSU does still have 2 games to play. But I'm telling you, if Ole Miss runs it for 400 yards on you, you don't want none of the dogs rushing attack. So LSU's got some things they need to close up if they want to, have a chance to play for it all. But Ohio State, if they had a better resume, if they had better, wins in their camp, I think they would be number 1. But they look to me to be the most dominant, football team, playing this year. And I'm like you, it hurts an old SEC guy to say that. But Ohio State's pretty solid.
Okay, and so along those lines, so I guess the question that I would have as well is it possible in the SEC championship game that the best offense in the country will face the best defense in the country?
I think so, statistically anyway.
Yeah, and then if Ohio State might throw a curveball in that. If you took them out, I think you definitely have the best offense playing the best defense. And so I always – and I'm probably saying this because I'm a Georgia fan, but I think defense does win championships. So I feel pretty good about that. And then I was talking about this the other night with my nephew on the phone. I always then look at out of that, you would argue that Georgia's weaker element out of offense and defense is their offense, mm-hmm. and that out of that it's LSU's defense. I think Georgia's offense is better than LSU's defense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'm feeling better about that. This is the same guy who drove from New Orleans to Baton Rouge last year, saying all those things as well. And
I watched us get dismantled.
Yeah, I wept bitterly for 2 days afterwards. But okay, all right. So that seems good. Don't have a lot of arguments. Then you got Clemson at number 3. They're undefeated. And it's just, Clemson's done what we thought Clemson would do. They're just hanging out in the back.
Right. Waiting on the last game of the season.
Yeah, and just waiting to be in the Final Four, which they will be in. Georgia at number 4, Alabama at number 5. And I understand the argument there, but calendar has a lot to do with things. If you're going to lose early. Lose early. And so Georgia did lose horribly with South Carolina, but they did lose early. And then Oregon at number 6, Oklahoma. which looked like they were just going to be dead against. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of that Baylor game, but
I do. And my apologies go out to Baylor because I texted my brother at the beginning of that game and I said that, hey, I think Baylor's my second favorite team here. I love Matt Rule. I love the job he's done. And then they completely went into a nosedive and could not do anything in the second half of that game. But hats off to Oklahoma for coming back against a good defense, being able to shut them out. I'm still not convinced Oklahoma's probably the seventh best team in the country. I mean, I forget who it was, but they had a 1-point win on a 2-point conversion or something here just a couple 3 weeks ago against a non-ranked team. So they've struggled a couple of times, and their defense is about as porous as one can be right now. So.
And then finishing out that Utah at number 8, Penn State at number 9. I don't think we have any arguments with this. And then Gene Shorts University at number 10. And I think I'm fine with all of that. As well. Oh, by the way, as a quick way of interruption, my wife told me to do this throughout the vlog here, is to remind the lady listeners that if you are hanging in here with us through all the sports talk, we do have some other things that we're going to go over as well. So just hang in there with us. So a couple things. Now, Sean, our pre-production meeting that we had, I think it was about a minute and a half long.
It was very productive.
But I did not run this over, but intentionally. So here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this every time you come in. I'm going to give you 2 questions that you can't think about. You have to give an instant answer.
Okay. I'm ready.
But I have the correct answer, of course.
Okay, of course.
Of course. Now, these are opinion, but of course my opinion is
it matters.
Right. So these are going to be quick things that I don't think that you've ever thought about.
Okay.
But I want to get your quick answer, and then I'm going to give you what the correct answer is.
Okay.
This is a fun game.
Disregard what you think. I'm going to give you what you should know.
Yes. And you know me well enough to know that I really stand by that.
Exactly.
So, okay. So here's the question that I have for you. I don't like saying things like people get run over by a Greyhound bus. Mm-hmm. Okay. But just metaphorically speaking, let's just use the word retires generically. Mm-hmm. Saban retires tomorrow. Who's the coach at Alabama next year?
Oh, wow.
We need like a clock, Mr. Producer.
Yeah, we need a 30-second clock on that.
Some Jeopardy music.
I mean, of course, they're going to go after Dabo, but I don't think he leaves Clemson to go. So you've got to go. Maybe Mario Cristobal leaves Oregon and comes back to Alabama.
Okay, all right. And actually, I have a generic answer to that. I do have coming back would be a former assistant coach, but not one of the big name guys.
Okay.
So I don't know that it's Mario Cristobal, but it's not a Jimbo. It's not. Mm-mm. It's not that he. But it's not any of that lineage in there that's currently in the big name jobs.
Right. And he's not leaving Georgia to go back.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't think Dabo would leave to go back because he's got too good a thing going at Clemson.
That's right. And the good thing that people don't realize is that Dabo, if he doesn't keep this up, Clemson's going to be a lot more forgiving with him than Alabama fans are.
Correct.
Because not that I can mention this publicly because of my love of my shrubbery, but there are some irrational Alabama fans from what I understand.
Just a little bit. I've heard through the grapevine.
Okay. All right. So here's the next question,
okay.
And I have a specific answer to this.
Okay.
That is correct. Whenever is the next coach at the University of Georgia, whenever that is, mm-hmm. Who will it be?
Wow. I don't think that answer's known yet because I don't think Kirby's going anywhere for the next 10, 15 years.
Okay.
That's my answer.
Okay. Do you want the answer?
I want your correct answer.
It's Glenn Schumann. Glenn Schumann is the brains of this outfit.
Okay. Don't know who Glenn Schumann is.
No. He's the guy that came with Kirby, and so he is the inside linebacker coach at the University of Georgia. He really should be the defensive coordinator, but because of his age, they would not give it to him. And they almost said that publicly. But I think to this day, I believe Glenn Schumann is the brains behind the University of Georgia. That's my pick.
Okay.
And we're going to keep up with this.
All right, so 10, 15 years from now,
in 10 years from now, Glenn Schumann's going to be coaching at Jeff Davis. So, but those are my thoughts. But I am a big believer in Glenn Schumann, and I do think there is a lot of truth to this. But Glenn Schumann, next coach at the University of Georgia.
I've got one for you before we leave that.
Okay, I'm ready.
How many days after the end of the season is it before Bradley leaves as the assistant offensive coordinator of LSU?
There would be strong rumors already confirmed well before those days. Okay.
My thoughts exactly. I was going to put the over under at 3.
Yeah.
And I was going to take the under.
Yeah. And so I love this conversation. I think the same people that handled Tennessee's coaching search are apparently handling Florida State's coaching search because it could not be going worse. That's why I thought they should have waited longer to fire Taggart so that they would not, so that it would be clear who they could go after. And I think an FSU should go after that LSU offensive coordinator. I think that's your guy.
Yeah.
I think that's your guy somewhere.
Yeah, and somebody's already got to be talking to this guy.
He is gone. Because, and I love him, but once again, I do not believe Ed Orgeron is the think tank behind the offensive. But you can't take anything away from Ed Orgeron. He's done a very good job. But
he's put people in place.
That is correct. Okay, so moving forward just a little bit, my final question, and we did talk about a little bit of this pre-production, is there begins to be some argument that's not going to sit well with you. But Sean, what if I told you the Big Ten is just as good as the SEC this year? Now take your allegiance away. You are a bright, intelligent man. The argument could be made. How do we begin to work on? I mean, we need to develop a response to this because the argument's beginning to add up.
Well, I think at the top there is no argument. I think Ohio State is as good as anybody in the SEC. I think Michigan is a solid second place team, and Penn State and Minnesota maybe, but after that, there's really not a whole lot of argument. I mean, and people are going to say Iowa, and people are going to say Iowa State, but I mean, I think if you take our 14 teams and match them up against them, you can only stay in the top 4 where you even got any kind of matchup.
Some throw a curveball. Is Iowa State in the Big Ten? I thought they were in the 12. I could be wrong about that.
Maybe. That's right. I think you are right. Iowa State is a big.
We can correct all that post editing or whatever. We'll correct all of these.
But you still have Maryland in the Big Ten. You still have Nebraska
Arkansas,
in the Big Ten,
Vanderbilt,
true, but
Kentucky,
Tennessee. Tennessee. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Mizzou ain't running it on fire.
Yeah,
Ole Miss.
But you do have Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Georgia, Florida.
We've got 6 in the top 25. They've got 6 in the top. So I think your argument's correct. I do think the SEC's better, but I do think the argument's closer today than it was in a long time.
I agree.
Long time.
And listen, every year I start off thinking that Ohio State is overblown. They're overrated, just like Oklahoma is overblown and overrated. But let me tell you, I've watched 3 Ohio State games from kickoff to the final whistle. That is a solid football team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And they're as good as anybody the SEC has.
Okay. So now just turning because transitions are something that we're poor at around here. So this is what we call a soft transition. Along that, you and I were talking with Thanksgiving coming up. You were sharing with me, and I kind of just stopped you and said, "Well, just share that on there." But you had a Thanksgiving memory, but it's actually sports related. If you could share the story, I think it is it's solid.
Right. Well, and I told you I can't remember what year it was, so you got to go back to the Ray Goff era.
That's the glory, the golden years.
The golden years. So let's just call it 93 or 94, somewhere along in there, maybe even 91. It wasn't when we were really good in 92 because I remember that season pretty well. But that was the year that Georgia played Georgia Tech in Atlanta on Thanksgiving Day. Well, Georgia won the football game, but there was a huge brawl toward the end of the game where it was just a dog pile in one of the end zones. And, I mean, there were bodies flying everywhere, and I looked down, and we're sitting, like, right on top of in the stands, right on top of where the fight is. And Ray Goff, who is a big man. Now, if you don't remember Big Ray, he was a heck of a quarterback for the University of Georgia. He is literally grabbing guys by the back of the jersey and just throwing them off the pile, trying to get this thing broke up.
Yeah.
And this is on Thanksgiving Day on, national TV, ABC or whatever. So a great look for the Dogs and Tech to brawl it out on Thanksgiving, which is pretty much what's going on in a lot of homes
families.
For Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it sounds like
for families. But afterwards, we had the pleasure of going back to a friend's house and eating a Publix pre-ordered Thanksgiving Day meal.
Stay classy. Hey, stay classy, Sean Smoke.
Oh, but you get the turkey and the sweet potato souffle and the green beans and the rolls all ready to go. All you got to do is slide it in the oven, heat it up, and you're ready to go. But
that's a notch above going to the Chinese restaurant.
There you go. But what a great Thanksgiving memory that was.
That's a good. So I don't believe I've ever been to a sporting event actually on Thanksgiving. I went to my Granny Thomas's house, where it was always, for whatever reason, several things. One is there was a big people's table and a little people's table. Oh, yeah. And the kids' table, by that I mean we just sat outside on a porch. That was our table. The second thing is my Uncle Aaron used to come, and his prayers were 7 to 10 minutes long, and then he read poetry. This was yes, nothing like a kid wanting to jump into some Thanksgiving dinner and listen to your uncle's poetry. And by that, as an adult now, I appreciate that. But as a kid, probably not so much. And then the third thing, it was necessary at my grandmother's house for it to be 97 degrees inside. Exactly. You know the little brown heater that stayed in the corner, the furnace heater? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was always wide open.
It could be 78 degrees outside, and it was cooking. Yeah. So those are my Thanksgiving memories that I have the most. And speaking of which, so my wife and I are kind of to the point. We hope to be pretty solid in our marriage. If our marriage ever does fall apart, though, Sean, I can tell you it's going to be over the thermostat.
Over the thermostat.
The normal killers of marriages are like finances, and you just don't get along, all that kind of stuff. Not us. It's going to be over that dang thermostat. So here, because sometimes my wife does tune in. I've tried to explain this to her, but she cuts me off. So I'm going to explain to you how a thermostat works. Okay. And just maybe she'll pick up on this lesson. If the house temperature is 68 degrees, which, by the way, to me as a fat kid, that's very warm.
Yes.
68 degrees.
It needs to be probably around 66.
Yeah. But she says it's freezing cold. She takes the button and goes bam, 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 bam.
To 74.
To 78.
Oh.
Because here's what it is. Because, Sean, she believes it gets warmer faster if you jack it on. And I was just like, look right here, sweetie. I was just like, that's not how a thermostat works. And so I'll come in late from work, and my thermostat will be on 78 degrees, just screaming out loud. She's just trying to get it from 71 to 72, but then nobody checks on it, and we all go to bed. And I wake up and it's a song. There is an older man in a YMCA towel sitting in the corner of my room because our house has become it's become a sauna. It's become a sauna, and it is so hot. So that's what reminds me. I would go to my grandmother's house. It could be 30 degrees out, but we all wore shorts because it was going to be 85 degrees inside.
Well, does your wife argue with mercury? Because that's one of the things that I always love. When the thermostat says it's a certain temperature, there's no way that's right.
Well, mercury doesn't know what it's talking about.
Mercury doesn't know what it's talking about.
It has no idea what it's talking about.
No way it can be 68 degrees in the house.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. So then my other thing is just like, okay, sweetie, what temperature do we like it during the summer? She's like 68 degrees. All right. Well, now that the calendar has flipped to November, why all of a sudden do we want the inside of our house to be 71 degrees? I don't understand the logic. But anyhow, but now that I've said all this, I'd like to say a list of things that she does very well. She's a very good mom. She's very good to me. I'm just trying to get out of trouble now, Sean. Anytime you want. But we do. I think that, and so our marriage, I don't think it will end, but if it ever ends, it'll be over the thermostat. Or secondly, do y'all have a missing charger problem at y'all's house? So we do. So we all, the whole family.
Who's got the charger?
Oh, and we have 314 of them because I have personally paid for them, but they all go missing, and they have all been stolen. Honestly, have I stolen a charger before? Yes, I have. I'm not proud of it. Have I stolen my daughter's before? Yes, I have. Does she buy pink ones with bedazzled little charger boxes as to keep me from stealing them? Yes. But I think she's stolen some from me. Now, when she does come bedside and she sees her pink bedazzled little charger box,
you get called out.
Yeah, it's easy to call me out. But so those are the two things that cause fights around our house: are the thermostat and chargers. Stolen chargers happen.
Our biggest problem is where are we going to eat?
Where are we going to eat?
What are we going to eat, or where are we going to eat?
So I think I've got the solution for that. There is a restaurant that she doesn't like, and you know it. And so when you say, "Well, where do you want to eat?" and she goes, "I don't care."
Then you say
name that restaurant.
Then all of a sudden they come up with
yeah. And then, I don't know if you have this, but my daughter eats at 2 restaurants on this planet.
That's it.
So we go on Chick-fil-A or Firehouse Subs or Chick-fil-A. Those are my those are my 2 choices. So guess where we're eating on Sundays? Firehouse Subs. So yeah, but the pick of restaurants is one. Mr. Producer, I know you're off microphone, but you still have a voice in this. Any grave marital concerns that we need, you can whisper them over. And this is what I'm going to do. I'll solve any marital woe that you have. Just whisper it over to me. I'll look right to that camera, and it will make your holidays just absolutely blissful.
I feel a lot better that we don't have that other people have the thermostat problem.
Okay, so you have a thermostat problem?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and that's just unheard of. And so the idea is this. It's like, Brooke, you married a fat man. I was fat when you met me. I'm gonna be fat when I die. You know I cannot be hot. I can't tolerate heat. So that's just something that she had. Now the other thing is she says that the ceiling fan dries out her nose. Mm-hmm. And I let me tell you something. If it's Arctic temperatures outside,
the fans
still got to be
same
wrong.
way.
And she swears to it that causes her, to get stuffed up. I don't know that the ceiling fan causes anybody to get stuffed up. But at my house, temperature last night, thermostat was on 62. I don't think it ever got to 62 inside, and the ceiling fan was going just fine at my house last night. So I win some battles at my house. Any other woes that I can help you with, Mr. Producer?
Probably what will get me out.
Because
what will get me voted off the island is not leaving enough gas in the vehicles. I will drive on fumes.
next say on that, I'm pretty bad about that as well. yeah. I'm pretty bad. I'm not too hot about that.
He's a big Kramer fan of Seinfeld.
Yeah, and if you couldn't hear off camera, our producer's bad about driving on riding on E, and the whole and kind of coasting in. Have you ever coasted in? Done the coast of shame into the gas station? I have.
I've coasted on the middle of
Yeah.
in the middle of a deserted road.
Yeah.
That is an epic fail.
Yeah, when you coast on a deserted road, that is the epic fail. But I've done the coast of shame where I coast into the gas station, but I still end up about 6 feet too short. So I'm still having to get some type of device to pump the gas into to take it 6 feet over. And so that's kind of a piece of shame as well. But, hey, listen, we're going to wrap it up today. Thanks for Sean Smoke of 912 Sports coming in. And once again, just, Sean, your magazines are tell people how to even get. Are they still in the convenience stores?
Yeah, no, not in the convenience stores. But we have several locations around town. We've got it at Gridiron Grill. We've got it at all Prime South Bank locations. Robbie Robertson Ford, Morton and PV Dentistry. You can stop in and pick up copies there. Or by all means, you can go online to 912sports.net and sign up for home delivery. And we'll put it right there in your mailbox for every issue.
So 912sports.net.
.net,
okay. All right. So just support Sean, because what he does for this community and covering high school sports is just phenomenal. And once again, like I say, I mean, it's just year round. And certainly I'm a football fan, and this town's a football town, but he does it. I mean, every single sport is covered, and he does a really good job of supporting. And your football coverage is phenomenal. But on top of that, all the other sports, you name it, he does a great job of getting to all of them. And so we appreciate Sean coming into the studio. Congratulations to David Dowling for winning the Gravity feeder. And David, you might just want to put a bow on it, put it on the tree, and just tell Leslie Merry Christmas. That could be the gift that your wife has been looking for, is a Deer Gravity feeder. But just once again, and
high-end Deer Gravity feeder.
That's right. And I did do the spray paint work on it, which was a little bit of brown, a little bit of green, a little bit of black. My camo pattern is on there, and I will have Woody to sign your Gravity feeder as well. And once again, just thank you for tuning in. If you don't mind, also just share this and like it and share it with your friends. We'd appreciate it. But just have an awesome evening. It's good seeing you guys, and take care.